This podcast is a part of the Podmania podcasting network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling.
Guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things world-wondering stardom, right here on the Podmania Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined as ever by Independent Wrestling's Matt Turner. Matt, how the devil are you?
I am fantastic, other than the fact that you guys didn't have daylight savings time, but we did over here in the States, so our timing's just a little bit off, and we were right before the podcast, me and Rob were just joking, because I thought maybe Rob fell asleep at the wheel, and I just realized that the time zone difference, the daylight savings time over there in England didn't take effect yet, and over in the States it did, so I was like, that's pretty funny. So if that's the worst thing that happens to me today, it is a very, very good day.
Absolutely. Just the thought of you waiting for an hour going, he is always a little bit late, but he's never been this late. Whereas I'm perpetually late for the other podcast I do. So you should feel very honored, Matt, just that I do almost keep time with you. But yeah, we are here this week. We did say that we weren't going to have time in the previous podcast to cover the New Blood show. Well, we're back today to do just that. We're going to be talking all things from Stardom's New Blood show on the 11th of March, everything including the return of Saya Iida, the debut of Miyu Amasaki, which I thought was a tremendous success. You know, the tease of a potential member of Oeditai. It was a very, very, very solid show. And we're going to get into all of that and all the nitty-gritty as well during this episode. But first, I am fully aware that this is a Stardom podcast, obviously. But when something as huge and as sad as what happened yesterday with Scott Hall happens, you have to take a moment to reflect. And I know, Matt, you wanted to say a couple of words.
Yeah, this one, as we're recording this, we're just a handful of hours of Scott Hall passing away. And, the older you get, and I always say, I started watching wrestling in the 80s. The older you get, it seems like a couple times a year, some of your favorites pass away. And this one hit on the same level as like an Eddie Guerrero did for me. Growing up, I was a huge Razor Ramon fan, probably like 94, 95. Him, Brett, and Shawn Michaels were probably my three favorite wrestlers. I remember I had the Razor Ramon foam. It was supposed to be like a foam finger, but it was a foam razor blade. Now it's kind of funny now that I say it out loud. I had the Razor Ramon razor key, necklace, which again, now that I think about it, if I wore that today, I'd probably get arrested. I had the bright purple shirt, which I constantly got made fun of in school for, which I didn't care because I was just a huge fan. Anytime I walked into a room, I would do like Razor strut. He puts his hands out to the side. He was literally, you can make an argument of like who's the greatest wrestler of all time, who's the greatest this, the greatest that. I think he's probably the coolest wrestler of all time. When the whole NWO thing happened, not everybody had the internet. I didn't get the internet until 96, so there really wasn't any dirt sheets or any rumors or anything that you can really... Well, the dirt sheets were out, but they weren't as easy to get to it as now. And I really only watched WWF. I had a couple friends of mine that would watch WCW because Hogan and Savage went over. And I remember sitting there on my living room floor watching Monday Night Raw, and one of my best friends calls me, and he said, hey, Razor Ramon is on Nitro. And I was like, what? Because I had no idea that him and Kevin Nash Diesel were leaving. So this was like, as a 14-year-old kid, you have 14-year-olds I was 14 years old at that time, just blew my mind. So I turned on Nitro and I was like, I'll never forget the promo. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. And from the next week on until Nitro closed their doors, I watched every single Nitro. I mean, it can't be understated what Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, has done for the business. That whole NWO thing, it changed wrestling. I mean, even his WWF run as Razor Ramon, he had those two ladder matches with Shawn Michaels, 94 at WrestleMania 10 and SummerSlam 95. He had a very underrated world title match with Bret Hart at Royal Rumble 93. He just completely changed the business. And kind of just one thing I kind of want to end this on, because I can talk about a whole podcast on Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, is I noticed that when he was on life support and we weren't sure when he was going to pass, I was kind of glued to my phone on social media. And one of the reasons why is I didn't even realize this, but a lot of my friends in independent wrestling, they were on shows with Scott Hall and they were sharing their stories on social media about Scott Hall. And the most common denominator, the most common story that I heard was that if Scott wasn't taking pictures, if he wasn't signing autographs, if he wasn't at his merch table, he was watching the matches. And it didn't matter if you were match 1, match 4, match 5, or the main event. If he saw your match, and what he would do is he'd pull you aside when you would cut the curtain, and he would give you advice. And that's something that a guy his stature didn't need to do. But that's something that I think really hit home with me, that here's this guy that's been, wrestling in front of 12,000, 14,000, 15,000 people for the last, 15, 16, 17 years. And he's in front of only a couple hundred people watch at this independent show. And he's giving the young guys advice, breaking down their matches, like saying, hey, you should have done this, maybe try this, do this here, maybe try this out next time. And that's something that he didn't need to do. He could have just been nice to everybody, taking some pictures, sign his autographs, got paid and left. But it seemed like he did that at all these independent shows that my friends were sharing stories with. So, Godspeed. And if anybody has any stories where they met Scott Hall, please, by all means, share them on our social media, because obviously it's something that I wanted to talk about. And, Rob, I just want to thank you for giving me the time to talk about it, because like I said, Scott Hall was a very, very big part of my childhood growing up.
No, not at all. He's certainly one of my favorite wrestlers. I mean, all time, he's in my top 5. Just, you hit the nail on the head. He oozed a charisma, a machismo, if you will, that just no one else could match. And in 96, there wasn't a bigger wrestler than Razor Ramon, especially early 96. And for someone who didn't win a world title in WWF or WCW to still be as big as he was pays testament to just how much he was thought of. But I've seen loads and loads of stories, just echoing your sentiments there, Matt, of just the acts of selflessness that Scott Hall would do. He'd take wrestlers aside, pay for their meals and everything, and then when wrestlers basically say, why are you doing this? You're Scott Hall. He'd just go, well, I was looked after on my way up, and I hope that now you'll look after someone on their way up. And it's so sad. But I will end on this. I believe it was Chris Van Vliet, I think, who said it's horrendous that Scott Hall has passed, and so early as well. But the fact that he managed to turn his life around to, because this could have been a decade or so ago, but the fact that he managed to turn his life around and have that extra decade as the real success story. So, it's horrible, but at least we got some more years with Scott. And obviously our deepest condolences to his family, to Kevin Nash, who shared the most awful Instagram post ever. Sean Waltman, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, who obviously were all very, very close to Scott. So our condolences, and obviously our prayers are with his family. Moving on, obviously this is a Stardom podcast. Let's start talking about this Stardom New Blood show from the 11th of March in Tokyo, Japan, in the Shinagawa Intercity Hall. It was a complete sellout, and actually they oversold tickets, meaning they had an attendance of 416 people. Now, this actually streamed live on YouTube. It's still not on World now, so obviously there was no pre-match promos. There was no post-matches, or there was post-matches. They weren't translated. But did that put you off at all, Matt? Or do you think, or is this something you would rather see in terms of Worlds? Just stream the shows. We're not bothered about, what they say. We'll get the translations when we get the translations. I want to see the action. That's the most important bit.
The promos, they do set a lot of stuff up, especially going into World Climax and what they're going to be going towards the Cinderella. But yeah, I just wanted to see the action. I'll wait to see what the promos are, or you can probably just go on Twitter and see what happened with the promos there from the translation. But yeah, I just wanted to see the action because I heard it was a really good, solid show, and to me, it sure was.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as a lot of these wrestlers, I mean, both me and you aren't exactly well versed in a lot of the wrestlers that aren't from Stardom. So it was interesting to see wrestlers from other companies, and I know there was at least 2 or 3 that really, really stood out and impressed me. So let's delve into this card. We opened with a singles match. Momo Kogo defeating Gato Moves Sayaka with the Nectar Peach in 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Matt, what was your opinion on this one?
Momo Kogo continues to look better, and I thought this was a good spotlight for her because when she's on a show, she's usually, in a tag match with Mayu or Hazuki, or even if she's in the singles, she's going to be overshadowed just because she's new. So again, to echo your sentiments, I didn't know the other competitor, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm probably going to butcher pretty much half the names on this show, but I was impressed with both of them. But Momo really, really stood out. I think I even texted you as soon as the match was over that Momo did the exact Liger bow and arrow pin count to 2 transition spot into the surfboard that Jushin Thunder Liger does. So I don't know if they're tipping their hand at the special trainers Jushin Liger. That was going to be my guess, or if that was just something that she just wanted to put in. But I thought Momo looked really solid, and her forearms keep getting better. She threw some really stiff shots on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously that Mystery Sensei was at this show. We had a lovely tease of just a thumbs up, which led to conspiracy theories abound with, it can't be Arisa because her thumb doesn't bend like that, which... It's amazing, the whole web we've weaved with this. But
it's Orange Cassidy.
Imagine that
My
forbidden
buddy.
door. Yeah, I thought this match was okay. I thought Momo looked very good. In terms of Sayaka, I've read that Sayaka's a strong submission specialist, which is sort of at odds with the type of wrestler that Momo Kogo is, which, especially in the early exchanges of this match, it means their styles didn't exactly mesh brilliantly. There was a few moments of sloppiness, but I thought Sayaka certainly grew into it. There was some really cool, innovative knee targeting. There was one bit where she literally sat on the mat and then pulled Momo's knee the opposite way from the way it's supposed to go so that she falls to the floor. And I thought that was really cool, just a simple thing. But I did think she was a step behind Momo at times. Overall, I thought it was a solid outing. I gave it 2.5 stars, Matt.
It was 2 3/4, so as always, just right there. I liked it a little bit more than you.
Yeah. Let's move on then to match 2, which was a tag team match. The marvelous team of Ai Hazan and Maria defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Unagi, Sayaka, and Waka Tsukiyama, with Maria submitting Waka with the Mariano in 9 minutes and 49 seconds. Waka Tsukiyama is a bloody national treasure, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. God bless her. Her selling this is really good. I thought Unagi looked fantastic. Basically kind of, echoing the sentiments of Momo Kogo. Unagi is one of the biggest stars on this show. I thought she looked really good, but Maria, I thought to me was the overall MVP of the show. I thought she was fantastic. I've seen a little bit of her work when she teamed with Mayu in the tag world, the tag tournament. But I thought as good as she was there, she was even better. I was completely blown away by how well she worked, and I hope that maybe her and Takumi get an invite back to either the 5-star Grand Prix or their team in the Goddess of Stardom tag tournament. I thought she looked absolutely fantastic in here, and then they also did Waka and Marie. They basically did their best Nagata versus Suzuki impersonation. By that I mean just throwing forearm after forearm after forearm after forearm. So I'm getting really endeared into Waka, even though she is the quote-unquote pin eater pretty much of all of Stardom at this point. She's shown a lot of fire in her facials, a lot of fire in her body movements, and a lot of fire in those forums. But I thoroughly enjoyed this match.
Yeah, so did I. I thought it was decent work by all women involved. There was decent work on Waka's arm, which led to the finish, which, you know I love whenever there's limb work and it leads into the finish. But something I did notice, Aigo Zan might be the only person in Joshi louder than Syuri. She was incredibly vocal during this match, but she looked solid enough. I'm going to echo your sentiments. I thought Maria was fantastic, though it was Rin Kadokura who teamed with Miyu. Maria was in the ladder match, not the ladder match, the tournament at Osaka Super Wars, and I think that, had she come in before? I can't remember, but she has been in Stardom before anyway, and she's looked solid here, but I thought here, really, really good. I thought Unagi and Maria's exchanges were really, really good. But again, they're building Waka so well. I thought overall, another really, really good match. The kick exchanges were great. I gave it 3 1/4.
Yeah, 3.5.
Let's move on then. And this was a slight surprise. But match 3, a tag team match. It was an all-Stardom affair. The Donna Del Mondo team of Mirai and Mei Sakurai and the Queen's Quest team of Saya Kamatani and Lady C ended in a time limit draw after 15 minutes. Now, I was pleasantly surprised by the opening grapple exchange between Lady C and Mei Sakurai. I thought both women in this match, Lady C especially, looked vastly improved, Matt.
My first note is I'm really impressed with Lady C. She's constantly getting better and better. And again, we talk about it all the time. It's reps in there with the right people. And now she's a part of that Queen's Quest group, which I think that's only really helped her. It's helped her with her look. It helped her within the ring. You know, you can tell that as she gets in the ring, even her walking to the ring, she has a more confidence presence, like a bigger presence. And it doesn't help that she's one of the taller people, too, in Stardom as well. But I thought this was solid. And the one thing I noticed about Mirai is she really picked up, like, the speed intensity. And we always talk about how the high-speed division needs more people. And you see, like, a Zumi, Starlight Kid, and Natsupoi, when they're doing the high speed, it's usually to, like, almost like a Dragon Gate lucha-style offense. It's like to an arm drag, to a quick pin, to a transition. Where her speed was into, like, just taking people's heads off. So I was thinking, well, you know, if they were to put her in the high-speed division, and she was to use that high-speed, hard-hitting offense, it would be something completely different. And I wouldn't be opposed to Mirai, 6-7 minute sprint match. I think that would be something fun to see. But I usually don't care about time limit draws, but do we really need a time limit draw on this New Blood show? You know, I guess to me it was like take it or leave it. It didn't hurt the match for me, but I kind of just chuckled. I was like, well, I guess it's kind of, I don't know if Rossi was just kind of like, well, you know, I just got to rib everybody else. I got to get my rib in. I got to put something in for a time limit draw, and I may as well do the one that's got all my 4 girls in it. But I thought this was really, really solid. But I don't know, the time limit draw. Do we really need it here, Rob? I don't know.
I mean, I don't think Mei Sakurai would be hurt anymore by eating a pinfall, but at some point you have got to start building it. I mean, you've got Mei Sakurai and Lady C in there who are, for all intents and purposes, just above rookie status. So, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world. But even so, this was probably one of my favourite matches on the card. I mean, Mirai is, at the moment, one of my personal favourites to watch. And I've actually made a note here. She's a frightening mixture of pace and power. And I would love to see her in that white belt picture. I mean, the exchange towards the end of the match between her and Saya Kamatani was the best exchange on this entire card. I mean, that wheelbarrow suplex into a Uranagi from Mirai looked absolutely tremendous. And then she's hitting a hammerlock belly-to-belly suplex. She's constantly adding things to her repertoire, so it's not just those lariats. But when those lariats hit, Jesus Christ, you do expect to see people's heads rolling along the floor. But no, genuinely, she is one of the most exciting things in Stardom at the moment, in my personal opinion. Again, Lady C and Mei Sakurai did really, really good work together. Their kick exchange was fantastic. Mei Sakurai, you mentioned, you know, an improved intensity. Mei Sakurai bought it here. I thought her intensity was absolutely fantastic here, and she didn't seem out of place, which she's done on quite a number of occasions where she's very much been the sore thumb of the match. I thought she did really, really well here. You're keeping Saya relatively strong by in the Star Crusher just as the bell sounds. But Mirai versus Saya, Matt, is something I would be very, very, very excited in seeing. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I said her and Azumi, her and Saya Kamatani, and her and Utami. You know, give her all, line them up all against the three big dragon heads of Queen's Quest. I will be there for that. No doubt about it. I had this one at 3.25 stars.
Exactly the same as me. Now, after the bell, we had a little bit of an exchange between Mirai and Saya Kamatani. And again, thank you to the wonderful work of @1222 Dragon Moon, who has translated a lot of these promos. Mirai actually goes on because it's 11 years to the day on 11th of March since the Tohoku earthquake. Now, it was a 9.1 on the Richter scale earthquake. It was the largest recorded in Japan, the fourth largest recorded in the world since modern records began in 1900. It caused a total of 19,000 deaths. And it's also the earthquake and resulting tsunami that caused the Fukushima nuclear disaster. And obviously Mirai is from Miyako, which is a region that was severely hit. She said that it was the disaster that led her to pro wrestling, and that she believes that she has a mission to give people the same courage and strength that pro wrestling gave me back then. So she felt she couldn't lose today, which sort of plays into the story of the resilience and sort of gives us a storyline behind that time limit draw. She said, there's no time to stay down. I want everyone to see how I keep getting back up no matter how many times I get knocked down. Saya Kamatani, next time fight me in a singles match and I will show you my strong spirit with all my heart and soul. And actually, Saya says she sees a future with Mirai, and apparently Mirai is also the Japanese word for future. So, you know, all those puns. And she said she's been interested in her as one of the golden generation. She wants her to get more results and to bring it on. So if by some miracle Saya Kamatani comes out of World Climax with the white belt, we could potentially be building to a Saya Kamatani and Mirai feud, which, again, I believe both me and Matt have stressed how excited we'd be for it. Match 4 then, a tag team match. It's the return of Saya Iida, the Stars team of Saya Iida and Hanan, defeating the Just Tap Out team of Aoi and Tomoka Inabe, with Saya Iida pinning Aoi. Someone will tell me, with the vertical drop brainbuster in 12 minutes and 11 seconds. Matt, opinion?
Well, before we get into that, I don't know if anybody noticed. Match 2, we had Marie. Match 3, we had Mirai and Saya. And match 4, we had another Saya. So I just thought that was kind of funny. I was like, did anybody look at the booking sheet? This is really, really good. I enjoyed it. The Just Tap Out team, they did this really cool arm wringer spot on Hannah, where they would just keep taking the arm, ringer, limb work. Again, I'm a fan of it. You're a fan of it. So really good stuff from the Just Tap Out team. Saya Iida looked great here. It was so good to see her back. Completely different look. She looks like in fantastic shape. New gear. Her hair is 19 different colors. Crazy intensity. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Hannah, I always put over that she does this really cool judo throw for her comeback. And I wonder if she's taken judo or jiu-jitsu, because in this match, not only did she do the judo throw, but she did, like, for a hope spot, like a rolling knee bar, which I thought was really, really good, that I've never seen her do before. So I hope she adds that in as well. I thought that was really good. Saya, not only does she know how to hit hard, but she knows how to feed as well. She's very good at feeding for the Just Tap Out team. Her strikings, her timing, everything was really good. She looked like she not only didn't miss a beat, she looked like she's better than ever. She looked fantastic here. And I love the finish. That vertical drop, almost like a corkscrew style brainbuster. I thought that was really good. I thought, again, this was another solid match. I had this one at 3.25 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always been a massive fan of Saya Iida. She obviously has been out of in-ring action for over 11 months with tears in her ACL and MCL in her right knee, which she suffered, I believe, at the Yokohama show in April last year. Now, according to Saya Iida, she says she left hospital in early June and resumed wrestling in about August or September. Her knee is still not fully recovered yet, but her doctor just cleared her for in-ring return, so she will have to feel her way with it. So, bearing in mind that she's still not 100%, I thought she did tremendously here, and obviously she was then on the Tak and Don Baba show on the 12th of March, the following day as well. Overall, I thought this was a really, really solid match. A couple of questions, Matt. What was your opinion of AOI's dancing? Where does it rank in the Joshi dancing you've seen?
Definitely way behind Tam Nakano. Everybody's way behind Tam Nakano. She's probably a step or two below Unagi and Mina, only maybe just because I've seen them for so long do it. She's definitely above my Sakurai. She's definitely above We Love Her, poor Waka. And she's definitely above Himika and Micah as well. So she does need new gear, though. It was like baggy jean shorts and like a baggy shirt. As good as she was in the ring, and she had a great presence, and her dancing was a solid B+ on the first effort. I thought was good, but I think especially on a show like this, I think she needs like more professional gear.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
No, I agree with you. I mean, there's loads of positives to take for the Just Tap Out girls. I mean, Tomoka Inaba is the current Sendai Girls Junior Champion. She's been that for a shade over 2 weeks after beating Yurika Oka, ending a 245-day run with the belt, just as a little bit of context. She is 19. AOI, I'm going to keep butchering that name. I'm sure someone will tell me. AOI has only been wrestling since May 2021. Less than a year's in-ring experience, and is only 19. And I thought she looked tremendous. She did some really cool transitions into getting into the armbar. There was a cool little roll through into sort of a numero uno variation, which I think she calls the A-wing, which looked really, really cool. I thought she was the MVP for me. Her slap exchanges between Saya and herself were brilliant. There was some horrendous bumps. I mean, she landed on her neck from a lariat, which was just like, oh my God. And then we talked about Saya's brainbuster. Saya struggled to get her up the first time. And then the second time, she did the corkscrew element of it and then dropped her flush on the crown of her head, which can't have tickled. But thankfully, everyone seemed all right. Post-match, Inaba expresses interest in Hanon's future of Stardom belt. Now, my big thing about this entire show is if this gets more rookies, if this is what we do with the future belt from now, yes, we've got people like Rina, like Hina, like May who can go for the future belt, but if we can then go to other companies and give other women the chance to fight for this belt, surely that makes it better. Surely that helps. Okay, surely that helps Hanon or whoever the champion is coming out of World Climax. If we can go to Just Tap Out, if we can go to Sendai Girls, if we can go to Marvelous, and we can have matches against their wrestlers as well, which is what Saya Iida was starting to do. I know she fought against Honori Hana last year for the belt. I really like that idea, and if this show is sort of opening up those doors to help sort of build those partnerships, then I am all for that. I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was another really, really solid match. There's been no bad matches on the card so far, Matt, and spoilers, there isn't going to be. Did you say you give it 3 1/4?
The same spot, yeah. And just to piggyback off what you said, yeah, with that Future Stardom title, if that's that's what they want to do, is taking other promotions, and then the smart thing would be is to put either that show or that matchup on YouTube, either live stream it or put it up in a day or two. You're going to get more eyes on it because it is Stardom. It is the #1 Japanese wrestling company, women's wrestling company, one of the top wrestling companies over in Japan overall, just based off the numbers. And then obviously if it's something that they put up on YouTube, it's probably a match that me and you would probably cover on the podcast as well. So that would just open up doors for all these other promotions to have that belt defended in different areas. So that I think that's a good idea. So you might have to call one Mr. R. Ogawa.
See if he'll take my call finally. We're on to match 5 then, the semi-main event, which was a tag team match with the Oedetai team of Starlight Kid and Ruaka defeating the World Women Pro Wrestling Diana team of Haruka Umasaki and Nanami, with Starlight Kid pinning Nanami after a moonsault in 13 minutes and 16 seconds. This was my match of the night, Matt. I thought this was fantastic. What about you?
I agree. This is my favorite match of the night. My favorite exchanges of the night were Starlight Kid and Haruka. Am I saying that right?
Haruka Umasaki, yeah.
I'm just going to say the first name because I'll go over to Haruka and the Starlight Kid stuff. I thought was fantastic. And that's some stuff that I would like to see somewhere down the road in the future. I thought it was the heart of the match. I thought it was the storyline of the match was the two of them going back and forth. You know, her hanging with Starlight Kid, who is just an absolute. Her star is growing. You know, leaps and bounds every show. I thought that was the best stuff of the show, and I thought Ruaka looked really good here, and the other competitor, Nanami. Am I saying that right?
You are indeed, yeah.
Oh, I got it. You know, hey, even a broken clock's right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. But I thought everything was good here. I thought all the exchanges, you know, they built the finish up really well, where everybody was getting their stuff in. They were getting their single stuff in, the tag stuff in. Everybody looked good going towards the end. And then, Starlight Kid gets the win with the moonsault. We haven't seen Starlight Kid win a match with a moonsault in quite some time. So that was nice that she kind of threw that back. I thought that was good. If anything, maybe a bit too long. Maybe they could have shaved 2 or 3 minutes off it. But yeah, this was my match of the night as well. I had this at 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah. Were you surprised that Starlight Kid took so much of the offense?
It was, and I kind of on the show, especially Saya Kamitani, who's the white belt champion. She's the biggest star on the show. She has the biggest match coming up, you know, with the returning of the singles match with Kari. So you can make an argument that she's the biggest star on the show. So maybe you would focus on Ruaka a little bit, but she was in it quite a bit. I mean, I don't know if she put this together, if that's what they want to do. So I was a little bit surprised, but I'm never going to complain about seeing Starlight Kid in a wrestling ring for a long time because she just, everything she does is from the entrance to even the way she cuts her promos, to the way she sells, to the way she feeds, to the way she works her singles, to the way she works her tags. I just think that she's absolutely incredible.
Completely agree. And actually, having her in the ring so much helped to elevate, you know, Haruka and Nanami. I mean, Nanami's 15. And you wouldn't have guessed it from this match. I thought both of the Diana women really did put on a real spectacle here. Umasaki is concurrently one half of the tag team champions for both Wave and Diana, with Miyuki Takase as Luminous. But yeah, the main heartbeat of this match was the exchanges between Umasaki and Kid. They seem to be building towards an inevitable singles match, and if that's something they're doing, they've announced that they're going to be doing more of these New Blood shows. If that's something they're building towards, then I am all in on that. Again, Dragon Moon has been able to translate the promos that took place after this match. So after the match, Starlight Kid invited Haruka to join Oedetai, but quickly changed her mind. Haruka said she was happy to hear the offer and thought it was interesting to become the first outsider to join a Stardom faction after she defeats Starlight Kid one-on-one. Starlight replied that it was an easy win and felt that Haruka was still no match for her, but she will be happy to have a singles match with her when she gets stronger. Starlight Kid also thinks that Nanami could be a good opponent for Rina, as they are the same age. What do you think about outsiders joining Stardom factions, Matt? Is it something that you are bothered about, or is it not something you really think about much?
We keep saying the Stardom roster just keeps growing and growing and growing, but if it's going to bring in better talent and get more eyes on it, then I'm all for it. I mean, I would always hear people say, you know, Chris Jericho would always talk about, he would always call promotions and they would say, oh, are you hiring? Like, yeah, we're hiring if you're, you know, we're always hiring if we're looking at the right talent. And I don't think even though Stardom has a zillion people on their roster should ever close their doors. They should always keep looking for talent. And if this is one way of getting them on board or bringing, you know, great wrestlers into factions. I'm all here for good wrestling. I'm assuming you're all here for good wrestling, and I'm assuming majority of people that are listening to this podcast are watching wrestling in general just want to see some really, really good wrestling. And if we're going to get really good wrestling and really good storylines and angles out of other wrestlers from different promotions coming into Stardom, then yeah, I'm all for it.
It wouldn't surprise me if there are 2 matches we see on the second New Blood show. If it's main evented by Starlight Kid versus Haruka Umasaki, and then Nanami and Rina on lower down on the card, I'd be very much up for seeing that. I imagine we'll also see Miyu Amasaki maybe teaming with a Lady C, or maybe even teaming with Hina, who we found out is returning for the Cinderella tournament, which we'll be talking about in our next episode of the podcast. Speaking of Miyu Amasaki, she made her debut in the main event, match 6. The singles match between Utami Hayashishita and Miyu Amasaki ended when Utami pinned her with the German suplex in 11 minutes and 52 seconds. Matt, if you didn't do a Stardom podcast, if you were simply watching this show, okay, with absolutely no context whatsoever, would you know that this is Miyu's first professional match?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. If I didn't know that going in, I wouldn't have known that. First of all, I was a little taken back that she got the entrance over Utami. I mean, that's kind of a big thing, especially here in the States, is who gets the entrance over who. Even if somebody's running a big angle and 4 or 5 people are going to run out, it's who is the bigger star out of the 4 or 5 people that goes on last? And the fact that she, in her debut match, got the entrance over the former Red Belt champion, the former 5-star Grand Prix champion, I was like, wow, that is, I don't know if that's something that they thought about, but literally that's the first note that I wrote. Another thing about Miyu's entrance is she has a striking look to her. Almost in a Julia sense, or an Io Shirai sense, commands part of the room as soon as she walks in. I mean, you can see she was a little timid, a little bit nervous, but she had good looking gear. She obviously in shape and just has a striking good look to her. As far as the match goes, you can kind of tell Utami laid out the match and made it real simple for her. It seemed like they may have laid out 4 or 5 spots, and the rest Utami probably just called it in the ring, which is really good for somebody's first match when they're wrestling somebody as seasoned as Utami, because then it's this way, they're not overthinking the spots. They're not thinking I have to remember 7, 8 spots or 9 or 10 spots. Or I have to remember everything from bell to bell. And so I just have to remember these 3 or 4 spots, and then Utami's going to carry me through the match and tell me what to do, when to do it, and where to be. But I thought everything was really good. Her feeding was really good. The way she fed was good. Her ring positioning was really good. Her timing was really good. I'm thoroughly excited to see where she's going to go on Stardom. And again, we're just loading up the roster with younger and younger talent.
Have you, can you remember wrestling someone whose first match it was? Have you ever had to quite literally walk someone through a match or lay something out for someone?
The last one I remember, I was in a 6-man tag match. Now, you're ready for this?
Go on.
It was 2 of the wrestlers' first matches. One was on my team and one was on the other. And on the other side of the team was James Ellsworth, who just came off his WWE run. And on my team was WWE Hall of Famer Coco Beware. So, yeah. So think about that.
That's amazing.
And it was in the Steamtown Mall, where I cannot tell, in Scranton, Pennsylvania, for all you Office fans. I'm a huge
Office
fan of the Office.
Big Office fan.
I grew up. Now, Scranton, Pennsylvania is 5 minutes away from where I grew up. So I visited that mall. I can't tell you how many times. So when they booked me for the show, this is what we're gonna do. Are you okay with that? I'm like, man, I haven't seen James Ellsworth in so long. I broke into the Delaware and Maryland independent scene with him. And I'm going to be teaming with Coco Beware. This is going to be great. And all my family's going to be there. This is going to be terrific. Anywho, that's a whole nother story for another day. But yeah, I remember both those guys were nervous, and I had to kind of chain wrestle the one guy. And I just told him, I said, just stay loose. I'll tell you where you need to be. And sometimes you're putting yourselves in holds. Sometimes it's I'd have a wrist lock on, and I would just literally turn my arm one way, and all of a sudden he's got me in a wrist lock, or I'll move my head a certain way. So yeah, there is, when it's somebody's first match, maybe they get timid. Maybe they get a little nervous. Obviously, it's this guy's first match. He's across the ring from WWE Hall of Famer. He's tagging up with somebody that just came off WWF TV. You know, he was in the Royal Rumble. He did this whole little program with AJ Styles. So it's easy to be someone to be nervous. And I kind of just knew, like, if I have to take this guy and literally lead him, you know, by the tail or the wrist in that part, that's what I'm going to do. So it's like, that's why I kind of noticed that in this match that Utami was leading her. And that's the best thing for the match. You have to think, what's the best thing for the match? You know, Utami's not going to, you know, hang this kid out to dry, because it's not going to make anybody look good. Especially, it's like, oh, by the way, I just embarrassed you. I made you look, you know, greener than you already are. I made you get lost. Oh, by the way, you want to join Queen's Quest? Who wins in that scenario? You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. I thought, you know, Miyu was tremendous here. I thought she looked extremely solid considering this is her first professional match. Apparently, a little bit of backstage again from Dragon Moon. Miyu says she was a fan of Azumi when she was a trainee and actually learnt the unique double arm pile driver through secret training sessions with her. And then Milano Collection AT actually taught her the unique roll up move, the half leg roll clutch. And that's translated from Battle News. But I just thought that was really interesting that she's incorporating those moves. But overall, I thought, you know, I don't want to call it a carry job. That's not fair. That paints the wrong picture of the match. Utami guided her well through this match, and I thought Miyu played her part fantastically well. It cannot be easy wrestling, you know, someone like Utami who's just, you know, lost the red belt. It can't be easy doing that for your first ever match, and you are in the main event. And then after the main event, you know, it's all about you. Utami asking if you want to be a member of Queen's Quest. That's a lot of pressure on a young woman, and yet she did tremendously well. And there is a reason I asked you, Matt, you know, if you were watching this for the first time, would you have guessed that she is a rookie? Because I thought she came across a lot better than, say, Mai Sakurai did in her first match, or than Unagi did in her first match. I thought she came across very, very well. And Stardom are obviously very, very high on her to put her in the main event and then have her instantly join Queen's Quest in this, you know, big pomp and circumstance thing. I gave it 3.25. I think if this is her debut match, she has got some very, very, very good times ahead. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I had a 3.25, and yeah, she did a great job. And again, great job on Utami. Again, I understand you don't want to call it a carry job, and I totally agree, because Miyu definitely held up her end of the bargain, but it was Utami leading the dance. It was leading, and we really haven't seen Utami do anything like that, because Utami, correct me if I'm wrong, she was in the similar spot a few years ago where she was a super rookie. I think she made her first year or 2 years into the business, she made it to the finals of the 5-star against Miyu. If I have that information correct. And if I don't, I can always look it up in the book, Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th Anniversary Year in Review by my good friend Rob Goodwin.
There's just no end to your transitions, is there? Honestly, I reckon you've just got them in a big notepad and you're just flipping through them going, how can I transition today? But no, I thought this match was fantastic. And then obviously we've already talked about it, but Utami then offers Miyu a place in Queen's Quest. She accepts, and, you know, most people had sort of guessed that she was going to be the 5th person in this Queen's Quest versus Oedo tug of war match. And that obviously came to fruition. So X is going to be Miyu Amasaki, which, you know, I'm happy for. I mean, Queen's Quest, they're certainly buffing out with the return of Hina, like I say. So you've now got a significant core. With the return of Hina, with the inclusion of Miyu Amasaki, it does give you scope to not necessarily bump Lady C up the card, but certainly protect her a little more from pinfalls, which, you know, if you want to elevate her to winning a future belt or something like that, further down the road, you need to start doing. So I think it's smart business sense. Overall, then, Matt, 6 matches. The big question, aside from obviously the Stardom wrestlers who we are very familiar with, who stood out for you? Who stood out as someone you'd like to see more work of? Because that's another big thing from these shows. It's about opening your eyes to other Joshi promotions.
I said it before, but Marvelous, Marie. I thought she was probably the standout of the whole show for me. Again, I know what I'm getting with Utami. I know what I'm getting with Starlight Kid. With her, I've only seen her a handful of times. I thought she was the absolute standout. And also Haruka. I thought her stuff with Starlight Kid was standout as well. Again, you're wrestling Starlight Kid. She can make a sheep, a broom, and a dolphin look good. But those were my two. We threw the sea animals in on that one. Change it up a little bit. It is getting warmer out here in Pennsylvania. But those were my two standouts. How about you?
I completely agree with you. I thought Haruka looked fantastic. I thought she's a real one to keep your eye on. I actually really enjoyed, and again, can't say a name, AOI, I think, from Just Tap Out. I think when you consider she's got less than a year's experience, I thought she had a really, really, really good exchange with Saya Iida. And she's someone I like to see a lot more of. I think she's very Miyu Iwatani build, quite, not necessarily lanky, but very thin, bumps, very, very, very well, very athletic. So I'd be very excited to see a little bit more from her. But I don't think there's no one on this card where I thought, Jesus, like they're scraping the barrel with these. I thought everyone on this card pulled together to put on a very, very watchable and easy 2-hour card to watch. And I'm looking forward to the next one as well. With that then, ladies and gentlemen, that brings to an end our review of Stardom's New Blood 1 show. We'll be back on Friday for our patrons and on Sunday for everybody else on our free feed to talk the Takadome Baba show and the Korakuen Hall show, as well as going into a preview of those Cinderella brackets which have been released. The biggest field in Cinderella tournament history, 30 women in with a chance of becoming the Cinderella tournament winner. If you are a patron, any level on the Stardom Cast Patreon, please go and check out our competition where you have to give us the winner and the 2 finalists for your chance to win a free Stardom Cast t-shirt and my book free of charge. Please go and check that out. It is pinned, I believe, to the top of our Patreon feed. Thank you to all of our patrons. We could not do this without you. You guys are fantastic. Thank you to everyone who is listening at home as well. You can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the Stardomcast, and our YouTube channel as well. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. We are literally everywhere. If you fancy giving us a 5-star review and a comment, we would be incredibly grateful. It does raise the profile of our podcast. Matt, anything you'd like to add? Where can they find you on social media?
You guys can find me on Twitter and or the Instagram. Just search Matt Turner OF, and feel free to drop me a line.
Just a couple more things. Don't forget that if you are a Red Bull patron, we have got our Q&A coming up. That's going to be released on the last Saturday of the month. So if you've got questions that you'd like to hear mainly from Matt, I perfectly understand that it is mainly going to be from Matt, and I'm fine about that. So if you want to hear more stories about, Cesaro, James Ellsworth, Rocky Romero, whoever you want to hear about, just drop us a line. Maybe you want to hear more about CM Punk. You've got the QA thread that is pinned to the top of our Patreon page. Please go and just write a question. It can be quite literally about anything. We've got everything from music to books to wrestling in there so far, so I'm looking forward to recording that. And tomorrow, as we record, we have got our Meiko Satomura versus Nene Takahashi match review from Stardom The Highest 2012. That will be online for our white and red belt tier patrons at 6 p.m. British Standard Time on Wednesday, the 16th of March. But as for now, that's it. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.